Guys, so here's my texture mug. So remember, as we've talked about for wrapping and storing these, when you first make these projects, the clay is so soft. So we just collect our parts, right? So we collect our parts, we put them on a wooden board, and we wrap them up tight. When we do that, the wooden board absorbs some of the moisture out of it, while the plastic keeps it contained and doesn't let it dry out too fast. So you can store it like that for a few days. And then when you come back to it, it's perfectly leather hard. But you do have to watch it. Sometimes it happens fast. If it's a really dry piece of wood, I mean, they can come back the next day and it's perfect. This one, we had a weekend, and then we had a day off, and then we had a snow day, and then we had remote learning in this year. So when I got back to this today, this morning, this sucker was totally dried out. So at this stage, when this happens, when it becomes bone dry, there's nothing we can do about this. Rehydrating it isn't really an option because of like the clay's absorption and expansion of the water. So your best bet is to embrace the opportunity to make it even better. So I made another one right here this morning when I got in and discovered this. I made another one. I didn't have my Brooks shoes, so instead I used my work boots. Boom! So these guys my boots are really worn out, so the texture is a little bit more subtle on here. But it's starting to get to be leather hard now, so I think I'm going to give it a shot and start to assemble this sucker. Okay, so when I'm getting ready to assemble this is when it's firmed up and becomes leather hard. This is almost leather hard right now. It's a little bit on the soft side, but I think I'm going to go for it anyways. So now I make a decision, what kind of seam, what kind of joint do I want for the two halves of this? It's a little bit soft, but it's firmed up a bunch. So when it's on the softer side of leather hard, which is okay, I just need to be a little extra careful. So I need to think about this joint. Do I want to have a butt joint or a hidden seam, or do I want to have an overlapping joint with an exposed seam? I tend to, like right now, when I'm making this video at this point in my life, and whatever, I think that overlapping seams are kind of fun. That might change down the road. Right now, I think overlapping seams are kind of fun because I think it like shows that it's handmade. I think seeing some of those connection points are fun and like become points of interest. So I'm gonna figure out how wide I want this and how narrow this cylinder is going to be, and that seems good right there. And then I'm going to kind of mark where I want to cut this. So maybe right here, maybe I'll do like a little sweeping cut, just a light kind of arc there. And then I'm going to kind of push those together. I'm not cutting this out. I'm drawing a line where I know that touches. Now I'm going to open this up. That is too big of a connection point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a lot of that out and narrow down how much slab to slab contact there is. So instead of it being like a big chunk, I've cut some off so it's just the edges are connecting. So now I can score this where the two slabs are going to overlap. So I'm not going really lightly like this. I'm not going really lightly, but I'm digging the teeth in. So if you're using a needle tool or this scoring rib or a fork at home, you want to really rough up those connection points. So I'm scoring both of these deeply. I'm putting a little bit of water, just a little bit, on those score marks. And now I can carefully push this back together. So I want to be careful when I connect these two that I don't squish anything especially my textures, or keep that to a minimum. If it has to happen a little bit, I understand. I'm gonna hold it on the outside as I get this in here, so I don't blow this wall out. Maybe I'll flip it and work it from the other end. Really working that joint together. Okay. Just squish that up, so I'm going to level that out. Boom. And now we have a good joint. So that's an overlapping seam right there. So the two pieces of clay, they overlap. Okay. So in this stage right now, what we're trying to do is just get all of this connected. Then the third stage of construction is cleaning and refinement and finishing. Okay, so I've got my bottom here with my boot heel in it. I use my 3D printed stamp to put my name on it. So I want to see this texture in the bottom of my mug, so I'm going to actually flip this. So my name is right here, so this is kind of the middle. Maybe lightly mark that so I know where I'm putting this thing. And then I'm going to put it on here. And I like to, before I cut all this extra off, I like to trace this and get this attached, because when I do that, I like to get it attached because it kind of squishes and distorts just a little touch. So I think it's nicer to get it attached first and then trim it down from there. I don't have to score that whole bottom when I put these two on there, just the point where they connect. So I just kind of trimmed up the bottom a little bit, and now that's basically together. Here's my seam. Sometimes I'll show you a little trick I do on the seam. I like to show, if this is an overlapping seam, then I probably chose to do that because I like the look of it. So I might kind of clean this up. A lot of times I'll go in with a pencil to kind of dig out that groove, kind of accentuate it, which I think looks nice, because then if it's dug out a little bit, then the glaze pools in there really nicely. So I'm kind of using a pencil. I went with one direction here, and then I went at another direction to kind of cut that stuff out of there, remove it. And then I might follow behind this seam or this joint with like a paintbrush or a sponge or something to kind of get in there with something a little bit more fine and clean that up, clean that out of there. So that's kind of how I do that. Get in there, just kind of soften that transition a little bit, smooth that out. The inside I don't really have to do anything to. It looks, the glaze will kind of juice up in some of those in the seam there and help that to look real nice. Sometimes I like to flip this over when I'm cutting the bottom down. Really quick, let me show you. I can cut this in a lot of different ways. I can do a flush cut where I cut right up against it, and I can cut it so I can cut it right down here against the body. I could leave a little bit of a lip around there if I want. I could do kind of fun, kind of wild cuts, cutting this into like a star, a sun shape. So I can kind of do whatever I want there. So it's up to you guys to make that decision as you're going. Sorry, my boss just walked in there. I'm gonna do a flush cut on this. So I can do this a couple ways. I can cut this straight down and kind of go around this. Sometimes I think that can be a little bit tricky, but it's fine to do it that way. I seem to right now often flip this over, and then I'll watch my knife as I do this, that it goes very parallel with the body itself as I make that cut. So watch this. So as I'm making, if I flip this upside down, I'll watch that my knife blade is straight up and down. It's parallel to the body right here. So it's going parallel. If I turn my knife out like this, I could really kind of go into the bottom of this and gouge that pretty good. But I want to, if I'm doing a flush cut, I want to keep this straight up and down. So when I do a flush cut, I watch that the knife stays flat against the side here. So I'm kind of watching more down here than I am the actual cutting that's going on. Keeping my eyes, I'm gonna remove some of this bulk. So I'm kind of watching how the body, or how the knife lays against the body. I don't want to cut into the body too much, or at all. I think with an overlapping seam too, I think that this joint where these overlap is a fun point of interest. So sometimes I'll make that cut kind of ebb and flow with that as well. So it is kind of an accent all the way down. So I'm going to kind of keep going here. So lastly is putting on this handle here. So again, like I've said, I like to have a little bit more handle on the ends than I need. So I bend this to fit my hands and to make sure that it's not bigger than my cup here, that will fit. But it's way too long, right? So when I cut this down, I want to cut this so that my fingers can still fit in there, knowing that clay does shrink a little bit and all that. So I'm going to leave a little bit of extra space. I don't want this to be too tight now while it's wet, and then by the time I get it through all the firings, I can't fit my fingers in there. So what I need to consider here is I want this handle to fit the profile of this mug. So this mug is a cylinder. It goes straight up and down. So I want my cut to be straight up and down. If the profile of this was curved, I might have to have a cut like this and a cut like this to kind of help fit that profile. But this is straight up and down, so that's what my cuts will be. So when I make these cuts, I want to, again, leave enough space for my fingers, but I'm going to kind of mark it so I know where to cut, and then cut that, and cut that, and we're ready to go. So let's check this sucker. So I just cut this to fit the profile here, and now I need to decide where I want this to go. So I've got my textures on here. I've got this kind of point of interest, that connection point. There's a little smooth spot right there, so it could fit right in there. Maybe next to that. I don't know if I like that though. Maybe it'd be fun to have that joint on the front. or on the side. I've got some real nice squiggles from the tip of my boot, and then there's a smoothest patch right here, and then some from my heel. So maybe I'll put this handle in this smooth spot right here where there's not a lot going on. Maybe that seems good. The back part of my handle is a little bit flat, straight across, but this has a little bit of a curve to it. So it doesn't sit all the way down on there. So what I'm going to do is put just a little bit of a curve into the bottom part, just a smidge, to help that lay on there a little bit better. That's perfect. I'm gonna do just a little, just a hair to the top. Oh my God, that's nice. Look at that sucker. Boom. So now we're ready to attach our handle. So I'm gonna mark this just real quick. So I marked where that's going to go. Those are my 2 attachment points. And then I can score those. Score that. Score this. Score that. Put a little water on it. And make a noise while you press them together. Sometimes I'm trying to push back on the inside so I don't smash the wall in, but sometimes I can't get in there with my fingers, so I'm using the butt of this to push against the opposite side of the handle here to help give me that pressure. And this guy looks like, this thing's pretty big, you know, so this might need like a little thumb grip to help with that. So I'm going to use this little handle cut off here, the little piece I cut off the handle. I'm going to chop this sucker down a little bit and put this onto the top here. I'll show you. I'll show you guys. So I just cut this down, and I really like these thumb grips. I think people appreciate these too. So I'm just gonna shoot from the hip a little bit. Score this up here. Score this guy up over there. Do a little bit of this. Do a little bit of that. Jam this together like this thing, and bada boom, bada bing. What you got there is a real nice mug, eh? Real nice looking mug. Real nice looking mug. And a nice piece of pottery too, eh? Okay. So now I got my mug basically assembled. Okay. Now the last step in my book is cleaning, refining, and finishing. So this kind of breakdown again is collecting all your parts is the first step of construction. General assembly is the second part of construction. And the third part of construction is cleaning, refining, and finishing. Okay, so those 3 steps. So now I got this assembled. Now I can go into kind of finishing, detailing mode.